Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday live stream after what was a historically monumental Saturday. Finally, we are on Sunday, and I think things are going to turn around. And as always, I've got my buddy Jerry V. Hall to come here. Jerry, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Hey, everyone. For those of you that had a couple dollars in your account, were able to buy the major dip. Good for you.
Good for you. I think going to be rewarded. Now, the things we're going to talk about today, those are some pretty positive developments that was all related to a misunderstanding. However, as we talk about it, you'll understand that, of course, these are negotiations. There's always going to be one side that's going to give some crazy offer. Then you're going to get like a reasonable counter offer, and then another crazy counter offer against that. So this will just go back and forth. So just remember this, and I'll ask Jerry before we go on. There's no fundamental shift here. There is no double spend. There is no quantum computing. There is no Jerome Powell coming out and going, you know what, we should raise rates. Or the money print rate isn't shutting off. So just before we get into this, Jerry, did I miss something about like the fundamental shift? Was there a fundamental shift yesterday where something happened underneath? Was this just manipulation behind the scenes? Or is there something I'm just missing before we get into like the good stuff, the good news?
The historic level of liquidations in the derivatives world is a direct result of two things. One, a news, right? A piece of information entering into the marketplace, and an incredibly fragmented market. And what I'm talking about is how one exchange can price something at one price and another 5 others will have completely different prices of the same thing at the same time. Now, we don't see those kind of disjointed elements in the traditional markets because the truth of the matter is the largest capital market structure in the world is made up of 3 major players: the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, and the CFT, the Commodities and Futures Exchange.
Got it.
Now, there is not the ability to arbitrage or mislocate Apple stock. It's only available in one market. That's not the case in the digital asset space with all of these different exchanges offering the same asset. So, when you, in your video yesterday, were talking about manipulation, there are many opportunities to create disjointment in the system. And the minute that happens in the derivative markets where there are sell points or liquidation points or, must sell or must buy or this is triggered or that's triggered, you can get a lot of different outcomes. And so what we saw was a cascading of those events, and they were just like steamrolling each other. How much of it was manipulation? Only the forensics will tell us later down the road. We don't have all the information, but it sure is awfully suspicious that we had the largest liquidation event in the history of this industry over nothing.
It's
over some news and some negotiation. This is strange to me.
No, it's very strange. And just like Guy from Coin Bureau put this out this morning, analysts warn the true size of the largest crypto liquidation could be 400 billion. We were going crazy over 20 billion. And one of the reasons they say is because Binance API throttling only reflected 5% of liquidations during the cash, or only were able to like show 5%, but it may have been much worse, 20x times worse. So if you're talking to look at that, what Jerry just said, it was pretty bad. And if you're still around here, I can get why people are at extreme fear. But if you hung around or even, were ballsy enough to buy yesterday, like me and Jerry, congratulations. I think you're going to be rewarded in the long haul, but we'll see. So just to piggyback what Jerry said, when you have these cascading liquidations and we have a big sell effect, this is really all it is. Margin trading, like we talk about, it's going to happen. And my rules say don't use leverage, but some people want to use leverage. It's fine. I'm not like Me and Jerry aren't your dads. You know, you can do whatever you want to do, but there are problems with the leverage trades. That's what it is. You get liquidations, then of course the herd mentality comes in, like, hey, those guys are liquidated, and there's a negative effect. All these longs are going, I got to get out too, and then boom, you get out, and the next guy gets out. That's why there's, you know, and then of course there's thin order books, and don't forget about the bots in the background, which are picking up all these signals, and TA guys going, whoa, check that out, and they're out. And then you get the slippage and arbitrage, and of course these stop loss orders, they get blown through, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And that's just pretty much what happens. And then you have a very big bad day, which is what we saw yesterday. It happens. So look on the bright side. You are here. You're okay. You're healthy. We're great. And then before I get into it, I just want to say, like, there's good things going on in the world. Like, I just saw this, that apparently all the hostages will be released from the peace treaty that's been brokered between Israel and Hamas. So that's a great thing. There are good things happening in the world. It's not all awful. And I will say, we have a nice little run up. Let me refresh this. Now, I'm not here to, hey, 3-1. I'm not here to say, okay, guys, we're back. We just recovered all losses. No, we didn't. Just because you're up 2% today doesn't exclude the fact that you're down over 7 days, 7%. That's pretty much Bitcoin, right? Ethereum is, in the last 24 hours, they're up 8%, but in 7 days, you're down 9%. BNB is the only winner. And of course, there's been rumors and talk about how there was these flash liquidations and it looks like things were blown through. I get it, but it is what it is. And these are the things that happen. Like, before we go on, Jerry, do you do any leverage plays or any kind of like trades?
No, I do not. I learned my lesson in 2021.
What happened?
I took a leverage loan. I took a collateralized loan against my bag of crypto that was sitting on Nexo, and ended up having to sell a bunch of it to cover. So I borrowed 100,000, and I ended up losing 140,000 to pay the 100,000. So it cost me $40,000 to borrow 100 grand.
Oh, okay.
That was all because of the timing and the way the market was cascading down. And I was forced to sell assets at below the rate in which I purchased them, creating the loss.
Well, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. I mean,
it could have been worse. I could have been in the thing. But I'll tell you what I learned from that. What I learned from that is our market is not mature enough to be using these digital assets as collateral, as opposed to using real estate for a mortgage, right? That seems to me to be the only reasonable leverage somebody should take if they want to literally be assured that they're not going to get pulled by some outside market condition.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's the things that I sometimes forget to talk about, but you're right. Real estate is just one of those things that I know people, I mean, we'll talk about this in another show, but real estate is one of those things that it's boring and it's work, and you know, people don't like to do it. But I got to tell you, as far as cash flow and moving forward and using it as like tax deduction, it's the greatest. It's just the greatest. But here's what we have:
the safest leverage.
Safest leverage you can possibly play.
Yeah, you're going to collateralize a loan, collateralize it with real estate.
Yeah,
right?
Rates are pretty.
It's marked to market one time.
Yeah.
At the underwriting of the loan, its price and its value is established, and regardless of what's going on in the stock market, that price that your loan was based off of, the value of the real estate at the time of the issuance, it does not change. Underwriters do not go back and change and mark to market the price of the real estate at any given day, which we do constantly in the digital asset space or portfolio management space.
Yeah, there's no margin calls on your house. So
no,
that's it. So anyhow, I just want to give a shout out to all Zcash holders. You guys are crushing it. Congratulations. 476%, almost 500% up in 3 months. So congratulations. I'm not one of them.
What fundamentally happened with Zcash that that this is occurring? Did Zcash broker some incredible deal with the country of Mongolia or something? I mean, what's happening with Zcash?
This is a good question for the audience. Everybody, let me know exactly all the different things. I know there was some announcements and some partnerships and people were going crazy, and that's great. But what else is going on with Zcash? Because 500% is pretty ridiculous. I'm sure people know the intricacies. So I'll leave that to the audience and we'll talk about that. But let's get to the good stuff, Jerry, which I think is for everybody, which is China. So this is from the Kobishi, I always say this wrong, Kobishi letter. And this is a misunderstanding, apparently. Now, a couple of days ago, China came out and said, look, we have these 5 rare earth metals, and there's going to be more regulations onto them. We're going to deny a lot of them being shipped off. We're not going to export them. There's going to be a lot of red tape, and we're going to deny. And you're not going to have access to these precious rare earth metals. And of course, in response to that, Donald Trump said, hey, I'm going to tax the tar out of you guys. It's not 145% like we talked about 3 or 4 months ago. This is going to be 100% tariff import tax. And people lost their minds. And of course, that's one of the reasons I think yesterday we had a big, huge drop off. But now apparently China is saying, no, sorry, it's a misunderstanding. The recent change is not a full export ban, meaning they're going to be able to ship out these rare earth metals and people are able to receive them and use them for the things they need, GPU processing power and all the different things that are out there. Applications that meet regulations will be approved. They're willing to engage in deeper dialogue, of course, with the United States and President Trump and his administration. They're going to look for global industrial and supply chain stability. Relevant impact of export controls is very limited. Calls this a necessary defensive action. So all this is very positive. We haven't heard a response back from Trump and Trump administration. Trust me, I take a look at Truth Social and it's not there yet, but it's coming. But remember what I talked about in the very beginning. Negotiations. You're going to get some crazy offer and you're going to get some counter offer. You're going to get another crazy counter offer and back and forth. And this is what's happening. So China still has to show strength. So at the very end, they said, China adds that they will take measures if the U.S. persists in raising tariffs. So don't worry about that because I'm sure magically Presidente Trump will say, you know what? We'll go back to the old tariffs. Sorry about that. What do you think, Jerry?
I think Mr. Trump believes he is a master negotiator. Mm-hmm. And that old adage of a carpenter has a tendency with his hammer in his hand to see everything as a nail.
Sure.
And I think that's a lot of the context that Trump is holding. He fancies himself quite the deal maker. And we know that these rare earth metals, what we're really talking about are the components for processing chips and batteries, which are the 2 largest entities going into all of these new technologies, right? AI doesn't run without processing chips. And we know we have to store energy, whether this energy is being generated by water, wind, or the sun. We need new and better storage mechanisms for that energy. And so, yeah, these technologies, they need it. In the United States is at the forefront of those industries.
Yeah, exactly. So we need these, and that's why I think Trump said, hey, this is what I'm going to say. Instead of saying, you know what, let's just hold off. Let's see if this is real. And then they didn't, and then these things happened. Now, am I going to sit here and blame President Trump for all the liquidations? No. I'm going to sit here and say, you know what, there's a lot of parties involved, and the exchanges that the people that used are massively involved. And Dubsky says, actually, Rob, Trump put out a truth. You should go to it. So I've been looking at Truth Social. This is the old one he talked about, where he said that he's going to be raising 100%, where he says, it has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade and sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, blah, 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 blah. Tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that are currently paying. So that's what he talked about. And this was yesterday. Now, as far as like today, let's see. Oh, look at that. He was right. 31 minutes ago. Look at this. Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected at President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and why the USA wants to help China, not her. Well, there you go, Jerry. Congratulations, everybody. Bull runs back on. And that's it for today. If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Having me talk about his times. I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks, Dubsky. I appreciate it. So we'll see what this is. And then, of course, people will say, well, that's not good enough. We want this and this and this. Look, one of the big reasons was yesterday was because of that. We'll see how it all works out. I think it's good. I think, again, nothing fundamentally has changed. We're all in the same place. We still have M2 money supply getting printed. We still have rates that are going down. We are still in Q4 of the season, which historically speaking, October, November, December are some of the best months for the crypto market, especially the post-halving year. That is not only for Bitcoin, that is for altcoins. So if historically we're speaking and we're in that macro alignment where things are going pretty good, I think we're in the right place at the right time. So Jerry, before we go on and we talk about how crazy yesterday was and some manipulation, what else do you think? As far as like the fundamentals.
Let's take a look at the timing of this, right? So the official market closes on Friday and this whole thing starts. Interesting that this starts right as the capital market for the Western world closes down. What's still open? The international digital asset market, right? So we take the hit. Interesting, you just saw 38 minutes ago, President Trump, hey, much to do and everything's fine.
Hey, bro, sorry.
Open business tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So all of these shakeouts are just that. I can tell you that this whole event did nothing for me but afford me an opportunity to acquire some of the assets I already want at anywhere from 8 to 25% discount to what they were Friday afternoon.
True, exactly.
I don't work in leverage. For those that do work in leverage, that's the price of admission. You don't get the big jumps or gains without the risk of taking the huge loss. It's just the way of the world. And so if you're dabbling in leverage and you're new to the market and you got hurt, well, maybe you can rub some dirt on it and learn a lesson from it, like I have, and like Rob has, and other people have. Double down. Will we see another event like we saw Friday in the next 10 days? Most likely not. Go for it.
Go for it. And you know what? It's one of those things, like it's a learning experience. As long as you didn't lose everything, that's the big thing. And this is why I have the rules up in the specific order, because we've all been there. And it's okay to make mistakes, right? It's just you got to learn from those mistakes and go from there. Real quick, Saint MT answers our question. Hey, Rob, thanks. Put simply, Zcash is pumping as it's been exposed to grayscale clients who are not your ordinary retail. This, as well as privacy narratives, is why it's pumped so crazy. Yeah, exactly. And especially if you're going to get a credit score and a digital ID in the UK and across parts of Europe, maybe you want to use Zcash or Monero or whatever else. So I can definitely see that. And then Alchemist says, hey, Trump operative is shorted before the announcement, now cover and buy, now announce reversal, wash, rinse, repeat. That's a good point. So anyhow.
Rule it out. Cannot rule it out.
Cannot rule it out. Don't trust. Verify. So that's what we have right there. Jared, let's talk about just how crazy yesterday is. So the more you learn about October 10th, crazy. It is also from Kobe Shalati. Great stuff. Great stuff. Let's see. So first, you had and I didn't know this, you had a sell-off at 9:30. And that was before the Trump tariff that we just took a look at on True Social was at 10:57 Eastern time. So at 9:30, somebody knew something, and they were starting to sell off like crazy. At this point, many whales were already loading shorts. Those bastards. Then at 4:30 and 4:49, a whale purchased over 23 million of shorts. Actually, I can kind of, I can't see that. Where it gets even more crazy, that longs were liquidated at a 7-to-1 ratio to shorts, also historically high. That means that the vast majority, or 80% of the 1.6 million shares were liquidated or leveraged long. Well, that makes sense. The whales promptly sold off. Volume was so strong, this was interesting. Volume was so strong that it led to the first ever $20,000 candlestick in Bitcoin. So I guess this time it is different. A 380 billion drop in market cap before a V-shaped bottom as shorts were disclosed. And like I said, guy comes out and tells us, you know what? It's not 2 billion or 20 billion. It's actually 400 billion potentially. So this is where we're at. This is how bad it is. And then people will talk about the bad part of it, but think of all the good things that the manipulators got. So this is from Alex Wasey, and it was an Atom USD trading pairs. Apparently Atom, which has I want to say it's over a $2 billion market cap, somehow it went from, let me see what it is.
Some bought it at 1/100th of a penny.
Yeah. So it used to be at $3. Hold on. Well, yeah, it's doing pretty good today. It was $3, $4, somewhere around there, something like that. And where'd it go? This one. And then there was a flash crash to a fraction of a penny, and someone picked it up at a fraction of a penny, and they made 284,000 profit in minutes. I don't know how much they bought. I don't know if that's even true, but that's what we have as far as somebody. So whoever did that knew what was happening in the background. So congratulations to those manipulated sons of guns. And then lastly, before I get to Jerry, this is a good question. This is from Nick over at Coin Bureau. And this is something to think about as we are hoping that retail comes in. Imagine you're retail, you're sitting on the sidelines, and you think about, hey, I heard this, crypto is doing pretty good, and Bitcoin's hitting all-time highs, and even this presidential administration is behind it, and it's looking good. And then you just witnessed that nonsense that was yesterday, where everybody just got liquidated like crazy, and you'd see like Nick says, 50% or more. How many retail is going to come into that? I mean, seriously. I'm just wondering, because maybe when I said there's no fundamental shift, maybe I was wrong. Maybe there is. What do you got, Jerry?
It's only the degens.
Yeah. Only the degens.
Volatility is scary.
Well, this is true. This is all true. But I look at that and I think, like, for the next, there's two ways to look at it. There's one that there's going to be rational investors that say, I will never do that, right? But the good news is that most people that are in crypto are irrational, or at least some. And I think people will still get into the gambling aspect like you talk about, Jerry. The degens will do it. And I think that even though as bad as that was, they'll still be like, well, there was a flash crash. It happened because of this. But look at the recourse. If we go up and hit all-time highs in a week, you know what the story will be then? You got to get into crypto now, because look how much you made in a week. It went up 180%. So we'll see how that all plays out. And then lastly, before we get into a little Q&A, leverage. I just had to talk about this. I keep seeing a bunch of these posts on X, and it's stuff like Wang. I don't know what he does, but he had $9 million. If you had $9 million, here's my question: would you put it all in on even if it's like 2x leverage or something like that, where your margins get shrank? Would you do it? Because I know when we talk about this, and this guy just says he lost $9 million and feels like ripping out my wounds and bleeding. You see the wins, see the under calls, but you really see what happens when the market humbles you. So on and so forth. And then there's his shot. ROI and volume, account value. Well, he didn't lose it all. Wow. Negative $9 million. So I guess the account value was 5. Oh, congratulations, he lost a ton of money. But I'm questioning, I guess if it's not everything, but why would you do that? Why would you put all that into it and just think, maybe it's because people expect Q4 to be so awesome, and all this talk about extended cycles and super cycles and the business cycle that's only going to go up, that they're like, okay, well, maybe we'll go down 10%, maybe 15, but no one's expecting 40, 50, 60% drawdowns. And here we are, which makes the story all that more suspect, because if you have that much of a reduction in price, all those liquidations, you know who made money on those liquidations? Oh my, it was the exchanges. That's it for that piece. Jerry, that's a lot to take in, but just kind of break that down piece by piece. Like, what do you think about people doing leverage? What do you think about people
It's a
going this route?
it's a whole different demographic. Those who are dealing with millions of dollars in leverage, it's a completely different demographic than our audience, right? Our audience are folks like us. Most of us, building our portfolios through sweat and months and months into years and years of this deal. That's a completely different market participant. That tweet that you posted. If anybody is taking their life savings and using leverage in a hopes to escape poverty, please come back to earth. That is a horrible strategy. Very few people win. Just like all of these incredible trading opportunities that you see, I'm telling you, very few traders are profitable. Most traders in their career within 3 years, because they've gone broke, they have to go get a real job.
True.
So just know the odds are against you to become insanely wealthy on leverage or to trade your way to prosperity.
Yeah, very well said. Trade. I've met a lot of traders. Some do pretty well, but majority just don't, and that's pretty much how it is. And that's why, like yesterday, like I got some comments afterwards, like, Robbie seemed pretty calm. Well, I'm just spot. I just buy spot and sit on it and wait for it. Days like today are like a godsend. I look at, there's no fundamental change, so I'm going to buy. Like I've been doing the last 3 years in the bear market. So anyhow, that's it for today, everybody. Jerry, I'm glad you came by, because I think like this day was a reset day. It's good to kind of get those, flush out the negativity and bring a little more positivity, because I think we are where we're supposed to be. And that's it. So
I think, can I add just a real quick caveat to that? I think people should really take a hard look at what we're going to see in the capital markets starting tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine?
If there is backlash, right? If there is backlash and our New York Stock Exchange, our NASDAQ, our American Stock Exchange, our Commodities and Future Exchange, if these capital market structures, these homes of finance, start to take a hit, then we may be able to start predicting with more certainty a greater impact from a Fed rate cut later in October, right? And I'm looking at these things, I'm thinking to myself, okay, the crypto market in isolation is one thing. If stuff systemically bleeds over into the capital market structure that the big boys are playing in, now we can start to think, okay, now influence gets put on Jerome. Does Jerome bring that lever from 0.25 to 0.5 to 0.75? I don't know, and I'm not speculating yet until I get to see what happens in the tickers tomorrow and Tuesday. But this is something to keep an eye on, because now all of a sudden, when they press a button, things happen in the opposite direction that we just saw them happen with the liquidations. They happen in the other direction quickly. Boom.
Yeah. And then, exactly. And then as a reminder, I just thank you guys for reminding me. I forget about these holidays. Columbus Day is tomorrow, Monday, October 13th.
No markets.
No markets. Well, not in the States, but yeah, no markets tomorrow. So we get a nice little marination of 24 hours of people stoking in that Truth Social tweet to see what they can say. That's going to be fun.
A little more marination. I love it.
So we'll see.
Okay.
And then Jennifer Moffat says stocks are open. Are stocks open on Labor Day?
Oh, great. Let's get the data and see what's happening.
Oh, okay. And now Yuko says stock market is open. I guess this is only for the banks. I know my bank's closed tomorrow. Only bonds are closed. CME is open. Well, see, now I take all that back. Damn it. Okay. Just not banks or USPS. Stock market is open. Okay. Stock market is open. See, look at that. Look at that.
What a well-informed audience. Thank you, everyone.
I got a lot of wrenches in there. A lot of smart people. I'm not going to say they're the best of all time, but I'm just saying my audience, the most fantastic. And if people say it's the best audience in YouTube, that's my best Trump. It's better than guys, so okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So now we know we should be happy. Everything's good. Man, I cannot believe. I'm still flabbergasted on one thing, Jerry, which is the people that took their life yesterday.
Oh.
Imagine taking your life on being on a misunderstanding of a communication between China and Trump, and then also by the exchanges doing what they were doing. Just unbelievable. Sad days. Okay, everybody, if you got some questions, which I think we answered most of them. I think that's it. I keep track. At least we have Monday. All right. Bond market is closed. Bonds are closed. Stocks are open. And you know what? Let's just leave it here. Aristotle or Plato said it great. Big thumbs up. That's it. Everybody, go enjoy Sunday. Get outside. I think you were looking at the charts too much anyhow. There's nothing to do. Your portfolio is going to go up as time goes on. So just relax and it's going to be okay. Jerry, thanks so much for stopping by yet again. And we'll see you guys on the next Sunday. Everybody, great weekend. Adios.
Pura vida.